What's going on, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? Good to have you. I know it's a Thursday, and we're not usually connecting on a Thursday, but I want to welcome all of you here to the YouTube platform on this Thursday, and y'all are coming in nicely. Listen, do me a favor. Go ahead and like, tag, and share. Tonight is going to be amazing as we have a very lively discussion around money. I hope you're doing well on tonight. Hope your day was fantastic. And I hope you have everybody settled down for these next few moments as we talk about how you can win with your money. I want y'all to engage us in the comments. I don't want you to just sit back and listen. There's going to be a lot of good information, some revelation that's going to go on. I can't wait to bring our guests on in just a second. But before we do, of course, as I mentioned, I want many of you to go ahead and share this link. You can share it to your Facebook. You could text it out to your friends. You can share it on Instagram. We want to invite people in tonight because I believe that what we're going to talk about tonight is going to be life-changing. It can alter how you steward your money for this year of 2025. Some of you tonight is going to begin the first step for the rest of your life financially. And we certainly want you to be on. So definitely go ahead and do that. I want to share tonight with many of you who are in the comments. I see several of you, our faithfuls, are in the building. Y'all give it up for our esteemed worship leader, Minister Bernard McPherson. Glad to have him on tonight. Jasmine, so glad to have you on as well. Sister Lisa, so glad to have you on tonight as well. Ashton, glad to have you with us tonight. Courtney, what's going on, my man? So glad to have you on tonight as well. Some of you who are just faithful virtual partners, and those of you who are live campus partners, you are with us on tonight as well. Kishana, glad to have you as well. To all of you who are with us on tonight, we welcome you and we thank God that you are sharing with us as well. Sister Otia, God bless you. Glad to have you on. Otia is there as well. What's up, Dante? Glad to have you on tonight as well, sharing with us. Ebony Overton, glad to have you on as well. I hope I pronounced your name right there. Let me see who else is with us on tonight. Of course, our first lady is in the house. Can y'all give clap hand emojis for our beautiful and gorgeous and highly intelligent first lady tonight? All of the adjectives to describe her. We're so glad that you're on as well. Deacon David, our deacons are represented tonight. So glad to have you on. Kim James, glad to have you on tonight as well. Ashley Dumas, so glad to have you on, Ashley, sharing with us as well. And to all of you who are coming in, trust me, tonight is going to bless you in a tremendous, tremendous way. All right. So listen, I want to bring to the stage tonight, to our virtual stage, this young lady. She just told me she have a teenager, so we're going to use that word young, very relatively. But she is a friend of our church. Her and her husband pastor the Empowerment Church there on the West Bank, and they just moved into their brand new location there in Algiers. And I'm so excited for all that God is doing for her. She is the CEO of Organized Money and all things organized. She's going to tell you about it. I want y'all to clap y'all hands, put clap hands emojis in the comments for my sister, Elena Fingal. She's coming to the stage. Elena, we certainly bless and thank God for you on tonight.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Bishop.
Yes, yes, yes. I know that you've been all over the place. I've been following you on social media. And we, first of all, let me just say, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of, all of the things that God is doing in your life and the doors that He has opened for you and for Tori and your church and just your business. The favor of God is just upon your life. And we're so proud of what God is doing there. Let's talk a little bit about your church first, because I want those who are sharing with us tonight to know, first and foremost, I wasn't here. I was out on sabbatical, and they told me your husband just came and taught And it was a tremendous, tremendous blessing here, and everybody was so blessed. And so we were glad to have him last month here sharing in our church. But tell us some great things about what God is doing there at Empowerment.
Yeah, so we are about to celebrate our third birthday this upcoming Sunday. Yes, we have been opened for 3 years. We launched in January of 2022, and
Mhm,
my husband and I were portable for the last 3 years.
mhm,
And we just walked into our new location. It's 3401 8th Street, and we are so excited to be there. Our very first Sunday was this past Sunday, but God
yes,
has been so good to us. We've been able to
awesome.
do so much work in the community on the West Bank. We
Mhm,
serve lunches at West Jeff at the high school for the teachers and the staff every single month. We do coffee at PJ's and Harvey, right there on Manhattan. And it has been a blessing, all the things that we have been able to do thus far.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm excited, man. You guys are just some of the most innovative, creative pastors that I know. I steal a lot of stuff from you. I just want you to know that ideas and concepts, ways to reach people and to share the gospel. And again, we're just so proud of what God is doing there at Empowerment. And that is Algiers. Did I say that correctly?
Harvey, we're
Oh,
Harvey.
Harvey, Harvey, Harvey.
Mhm.
I always
A
get
little
those
bit further
confused.
back.
Yeah, one street over. So Harvey, Louisiana, to all of you that may be on the West Bank, stop by. You're looking for a church, not just a church, but some amazing pastors that's teaching and certainly shepherding the flock there in Harvey. So we're excited about that. Let's talk about your company. We were talking just a bit off camera, and you were telling about all the things that God is doing, that you are writing editorials now, you're traveling the country. Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing now.
Yeah, so I started the Organized Money in 2017. And at that time, it was all about my personal journey.
Mhm,
And over the couple of years, I think for the first like 3 years, it was really just me sharing and being very transparent about where I was and getting some accountability partners in there. And over time, I started to hit nice goals, and other people started asking me how I did it. And so I started sharing videos on YouTube, and my YouTube channel has grown. We are at about 200,000 in our family right now.
outstanding.
Yes,
Wow.
and I'm on Instagram, I am on TikTok. I also get to write. I have the privilege to write for CNET Money. I will write for Money Digest. I've been featured in a bunch of different publications from Forbes, Yahoo Finance. It's just my work has been in various places, and I get to travel and speak, and it is really a dream. I genuinely believe that God has put me on this earth to do exactly what I am doing. And so I am just so excited to help people with their money. I'm a financial therapist and a financial coach. So I help you with the emotional side of working through money and also the practical organization side.
Man, I want to get into all of that. But
Yes.
before we do that, because I've been knowing you and Tori for several years now, and this started off small. I mean, were you naturally just like a type A person that had to be organized, planned out, and God took, that, uniqueness of you and just morphed it into what it is now?
Yeah, I can definitely contribute that to my mom. Shout out to mom. My
Yeah.
mom is the most organized person I
Mhm.
have ever known. I've never known anyone else who can be as organized as she has. But ever since I was a young girl, she has always given me principles and tips and strategies on how to organize. However, I always thought that that's just what everybody did. And that was just the principles that everyone learned. And so I've had a planner since I was about 10 years old. And I would stray away from different things. And then I would always end up coming back to my core. I always like would just apply my mom's principles. And then over time, once I started the Organized Money, it just fell into place. And I started helping people with their money. And then it led into the emotional side, it led into time management. And it's mainly because I realized that the things that I learned as a kid that my mom and my dad taught me growing up, everyone didn't know. And so I wanted to give other people who didn't have the privilege of having that type of childhood, I wanted to help them along the way as well.
Outstanding, outstanding, man. We were just talking about that. I think it was last night in Bible study, how God has given everybody a gift, and you just have to work your gift, even from the small stages, and despising not that day of small things. And God, I've been able to watch how it is that He is just taking you from one level to the next. I want to know how many type A's we have out there. How many people that's on tonight? I
I'm
want
about
you
to
to.
talk type A's. Put it in the comments. We
Yeah, give me a
represent.
raised hand in the comments, because I am not a type A. Okay. I am not the most organized. And that's why I thank God for my wife. She is very organized. She keeps our house organized. She keeps me organized. And so, in business, they say you have to staff your weakness, but I believe you have to marry to your
Yeah.
weakness as well, so that you can have somebody that compliments you. So, yeah, throw the hands in the emoji if you're a type A. Yeah, Dana says she's a type A.
Yes.
Dana in trucking, excuse me. Tawana's a type A. Yes, yes. T. Erica. Yeah, some of you, I know you got to have a schedule for everything. Okay. And I promise you, I'm getting better. I promise you, I'm getting better. And so the organizational side, a lot of people, and you touched on the emotional side of finances. And I think I want to start there, because I want to start with the emotional, and then I want to go into the organized, and then we'll take this conversation some other place. Let's talk about that, because I think that's a new concept for a lot of people. When you talk about that, there's an emotional side to money,
Mhm.
that there may be some emotional damage that an individual may have that may manifest in their money. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so there are a couple things that could be going on at the same time. The first thing that you need to know is that just as you were born with a spiritual gift, just as you might have a certain love language that you were born with a money personality.
Hmm.
There is a natural indication of how you handle money, and
Hmm.
you may not even realize that you handle money that particular way.
Yes.
The other thing is that the house that you grew up in could play a major part in how you look at money. So there are like four different money types of houses. So if you grew up in an unstable money household, which means that sometimes y'all had money, sometimes y'all don't, that affected you. If you grew up in a house where they did not talk about money at all, we don't talk about money in front of the kids, you grew up in an unaware household, which means that you grew up in a space where no one taught you anything. And then as you got probably around your 20s, you're 25, now you're just expected to know everything about money. And you didn't have a space where you could learn about that. And
Hmm.
so, or you could have grown up in a fearful household where we didn't have McDonald's money, and we don't have money for this, and we don't have money don't grow on trees. And so when we hear those types of things as a kid, when you're around 3, that's when you start to realize that money is a thing. And when you're about 7, that's when your financial habits start to sit. So if your financial habits start to set around 7 years old, but you don't actually have money in your hands until you start working your first job, which you could be 16, 17, we're talking about years of conditioning. And then once you start having a handle of your own check, now all of those years will take hold. And the habits that you display could be because of your background. It could be because of your own personality. It could be because of your triggers. And there are so many things that we might have to work through in order to get you to a space to where you can manage money well. Like we all know, spend less than what you make, right?
Yeah.
We know the principles, but sometimes
Yes.
it's very challenging to apply those principles.
Mhm.
And it's because of those underlying issues. It's because
Mhm.
of the emotional side of money. Money is very emotional. And once we can figure that out and figure out our triggers, then we can handle it better.
Mhm. And with the clients that you've worked with, how many of them struggle with that emotional side? Do you see that
A
as
lot.
like a big factor in financial
It
challenges?
I would say it is about 80% of the people that I will work with, they will have some type of emotional tie to money that they don't realize that they have. And it can cause us to do a lot of impulse spending. It could cause us to try and keep up with the Joneses. It can cause us to do a bunch of things that we may not even realize that we're doing. And
Mhm,
so, what we usually do is try and attribute it to something else. Oh, I just need to make more money. Right.
mhm,
And so we'll say, I just need to make more money, or I don't know why I'm spending money, or I just need to get out of debt. But
mhm,
we have to sometimes go a little bit deeper and figure out, why are you keep getting into debt? Like, what's
mm,
causing you to spend? Why are we spending late night? And usually it's some type of trigger. You could be bored. I know I had a client once who every time she was bored, she just would do it as a hobby, and she would just go on her phone and just shop on TikTok or shop on
mhm.
Amazon just because. Or, she just felt like, if I had this outfit, then I'm gonna feel better and I'm gonna feel like I'm about and I'm successful. And so there are many things that we usually have to do a little bit deeper dive before we can kind of work on those habits, those financial habits.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I hear a lot from people, even when we're doing, spiritual counseling around money, is this whole concept of I deserve.
Yes.
Like, there's sometimes people work so hard to get themselves in a good financial position where they're making more income, but the I deserve type of mentality pushes them into a place where they overspend, they live beyond their means because they think that because now that I have a degree or now that I've started this business that I deserve something. And so therefore you put yourself back in the same bondage just at a higher level.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We all want to live our life. And so this is not about just sacrificing so much that you're no longer having fun or living your life.
Mhm.
But I do think that there is a difference between just like having fun with your money and living life and being excessive
Mhm.
or hurting what we call our future selves. So even if I am trying to have so much fun in my present that I hurt my future, then ultimately I am still hurting myself, right? I am
Mhm.
still putting myself in a space where in the long run, I won't be able to retire or enjoy life, or I won't have savings enough for my kids to go to college or do different things that I'm trying to achieve. So if I were to add, I would add to that and ask a deeper question. All right, so is what you're doing right now to have fun, or the things that you feel like you deserve, are they costing you something else in the future? And if
Mhm.
the answer is yes, then we need to go back, because then it's not just I deserve. It
Yeah.
is, okay, I need to figure out, why do I feel like this is the only thing that can make me happy? Because
Yeah.
it's actually hurting me in the long run.
Yes, yes. The pandemic brought to us the whole outside type of thing where, people were taking trips and they were working from home. So now they could travel and be remote and so forth. And a lot of folks now have developed habits. We were meeting with our financial advisor at the end of last year, and he made this statement that I keep repeating. He says that your money has to outlive you.
Mhm.
So you have to live in a manner where you don't outlive your money.
Yes.
You want your money to outlive you. And so we're going to get into some of those things about savings, about investments, taxes, one of the things that we were
Mhm.
talking about off camera as well. Let's talk about the organized part. That's how I want to
Mhm.
slide into this next segment. I read something on your website, I believe it was, and please forgive me if I misquote this, that a large percentage, I think it was 72% of the people who are organized are well off. I want you
Yes.
to elaborate on that when we come to talking about organizing our money. Some people, they just live day to day as it
Yeah.
relates to their money. But you're suggesting that we take a different approach to that because people who are organized are people who are well off.
Yeah. So when we talk about organization, we are talking about the way that we manage our time and the way that we manage our money. So when we I know, and we always say it, oh, time equals money. And, but I think that a majority of people will say it, but they don't realize how much spending a little bit of time with your money and allocating your time as you look throughout your day can really help you overall financially.
Mhm.
72% of people really do not pay attention to their money on a day-to-day basis, and it costs us so much more. It will cost you with your not paying attention to your budget. You're not exercising any type of self-control. It's hurting your savings. It's hurting your emergency fund. You aren't set up for retirement. So now you have the possibility of outliving your money. You aren't sitting down with a financial advisor. And what ends up happening is we get to a certain place where we get a certain age, or somehow we have a realization where we like, oh my goodness, now I'm trying to go back and fix. And it takes so much more for us to try and fix it after we have lived years after this, instead of just saying, you know what, let me do a little bit now. And when I talk about this, a lot of times people feel like they have to blow up their entire life
Mhm.
and start over. But what we're talking about is small habits, small things that you can do, like creating money dates, where you take 15 minutes at the beginning of the day and you look at your money. Just look at the yesterday's transactions. Like, how much do I have in my account? How much do I have left to spend? How many bills do I have coming up? Small things like that, or taking out cash instead of constantly swiping our card, so that we could stay on top of how much money we actually have to spend throughout the rest of our paycheck, right? And even thinking of just little things that you can do, like your investment and your taxes, and planning ahead for taxes, and thinking a little bit deeper about our income. And I know many times people will take their income and just be like, that's it. That's
Mhm.
all I have. And they won't even look at possibly making more. But there are so many small things, micro habits. That's a great way to phrase it. But there are
Mhm.
so many things that we can do, small things that can help us actually
Yes.
set up our money and organize our money.
Outstanding, outstanding. Yes, so much there, so much there that we can dive into. Let's go a little deeper. So, what are some of the things that we can do to get organized in our money? Some day-to-day things that we need to do. One of the things that I suggest to couples whenever I'm doing premarital counseling is that they have to, before y'all tie this knot, you have to have a household budget. I
Yes.
mean, and not in your head. It needs to be on a spreadsheet on somebody's computer, and y'all need to be looking at it at least every 30 days to track how you're sticking with that. So I know that, when you spoke to us in times past, you've had apps and tools that you recommend. I know you have a personal planner that you have available as well. Talk to us about some of the tools that's available for us so that we can get organized here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a few in the put it in the chat. The very
Yeah.
first one I'm gonna talk about is Capital. So Capital is spelled with a Q. This
Mhm.
particular app is one of my favorite saving apps. It is one where if you like to do micro savings, it is a great app for that.
Mhm.
I will use this one every single year in order to get prepared for Christmas. One of the things that I will do is set it to take out like $25 every single time I get paid. And
Mhm.
by the time I hit Christmas, I have about $1,200, $1,500 just set aside for that. You can do multiple savings accounts within the Capital app. So you can have something for Christmas, you can have something for travel, if you have a birthday coming up, anniversary. And I love this app because it's a great way to save throughout the year.
Mhm.
Another one that I have is a spending tracker. So this one is an app within the App Store. Now, this particular app is completely free, and it is a great way if you don't like to write down all your bank transactions, or you just want to hurry up and jot them down right as you leave the store. This is a great way to track your spending throughout the month. So I will use this one in order to kind of track and stay on top of how much spending I can do. And then I have another budgeting app, and it's called YNAB. You Need a Budget is the acronym is YNAB, and it
Ah,
is a great app for people who want to budget every dollar. We always talking about budgeting your money, staying on top of it, and seeing how much you have, especially for couples. This is a great one because both of you all can see, and you can see where we are, what bills we need to pay, how much saving we have set aside, how much debt we've paid off for this particular paycheck, and it helps you to stay on top of it all.
Outstanding, outstanding. One of the things I never forget when I got my first real job. I think I was making at the time like $60,000 a year, and coming right out of college, I thought I was rich. I literally thought I had made it to the top. And I never forget, one of my mentors told me, he says, in life, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking for apartments, I was looking for, $2,000 a month apartments. And he was like, whoa, slow down. Let's bring this down. And I'm so glad that God has somebody in my life that can speak to me in that fashion, because a fool and his money will soon part. And
Yes.
I was on my way to separation with my money. And so all of these tools, for those of you who are here tonight, I want you to take a screenshot of those tools that she just gave us. I think that that's so very, very important as well. Can you talk to us about automation? One of the things I know, even here at the church, as it relates to finances, that Minister Ebony does, is she's the automation queen. She
Mhm.
has everything on automation. And, I'm wondering, should I get rid of you since you have all of this stuff on automation? But no, she does such a great job at automating our finances, keeping everything in line. And, many of us do that as well. There is this stigma in the Black community that, I'm not about to automate anything
Yeah.
because I don't know if I'm going to pay y'all next month or not. So talk to us a little bit about automation.
So, automation is a wonderful way, especially if you struggle with being consistent, being on time with your money, paying bills on time, paying off debt, or saving. Automation is definitely the way to go. You want to automate as much as you possibly can, especially if you also have a hard time with. With actually sitting down with your money, right? We talk about having money dates and spending time and looking at the app. But if you're like, you know what, I'm just not, I don't think I'm going to continue, I'm not going to do that consistently. Like, we know ourselves. And so that's the very first thing. If you know you're not going to consistently do this, then automation is the way to go. I like to have separate bank accounts, especially if you are one who struggle with automation, because I know in our community, usually what ends up happening is we don't like automation is because we feel like, oh, what if they pay the bill twice? What if they take out too much money? What
Yeah,
if, and then I'm not going to have any money. But
yeah.
if you have two checking accounts, one for spending, one for bills, all
Mhm.
you put within that bill account is the money that you need to cover all of your bills. And
Mhm.
then you just watch it. You're just staying on top of it and watching it consistently. And that is a great way for you to automate without feeling like, oh, I don't want everyone to have access to this particular account. You can still separate the money and just put what you need into that bill account. But I love automation, especially for those of us who are not type A. If you're not type A, then this might be the way to go, because
Right.
it is a great way to help you to still stay on top of your money.
Yeah. Give me a raise hand emoji in the comments if you practice automation even now. I want to see how many people are automating their month. Now, I don't want to share my age, but I grew up in a time where you had to actually go there to pay the people, or put it in the mail or something like that, where you had to go show up to pay the light bill, to the Circle K or something like that, and get your light bill paid. But now with the digitized commerce that's available to us, automation is perfect. And then it also help as it relates to our credit score as well, by keeping those things systematic.
Yes. Yes, 100%. I know, even with if you also struggle with decision fatigue,
Mm.
meaning that, you get overwhelmed very easily with your
Mhm.
money, or just the decision process of paying bills and all of those things, then this can also be a great way for you to kind of set it on automation and kind of let it go, right? Like
Mhm.
I just set it up and then it's already done for me. And then all
Mhm.
I got to do is monitor it throughout the month. It's a great way to kind of stay on top of that.
Yes. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you see facing the middle class in particular. You know, with the changes in politics and administrations, you know, the economy going up and down. You know, again, I don't want to age myself, but we've lived through recession and inflation. So, what are some of the challenges that you see families and individuals running into as they're trying to manage their money in the midst of a very volatile economy?
Yeah, the first thing is the rise in the cost of living. I mean, everything is going up, but
Yeah.
our wages are not. And
Mm.
so that is probably the one of the top challenges that I've seen is groceries are increasing, utilities are increasing a lot, housing, and staying on top of mortgage payments and things like that, childcare and hospital medical costs, all of these things are increasing. However, our cost of living, like even though the cost of living is going up,
Mhm.
the wages are not.
Yeah.
And inflation is really hitting home for a lot of the middle class and the middle class families. And so, what we would need to do during this time is making sure that you are constantly looking at your budget. So, this is the time where, yes, this is the budget you may have had last year, but now we might need to review it in a new light. We may need to track our expenses in a new way. We may even need to look at increasing our income in other ways. And nowadays, this is the great thing about the current times that we're living in is that there isn't just one way. Like in the past, you had to just go and get a second job. It had to be something where you left your home. But nowadays, there are many other avenues that you could possibly take without having to leave your home. You could possibly work just from your home on your computer. When I first was starting my journey, one of the things that I did is this is before I started the organized money, but I wanted to start to create an extra income stream. Is I worked on Fiverr. So if you don't know what Fiverr is an app where you could do like side gigs. And within there, you could do bookkeeping. You could do, there is a transcribe app. I have my sister in law, she sings. And so she would take these little gigs where she would just use her voice and she would sing for them. And then I had another friend who did audiobooks. And so she would use her voice to just talk audiobooks, and you get paid per gig, right? And so there are Upwork, is Fiverr, but there are different things that we could possibly do to increase our income, track our expenses, and try and monitor that overall cost of living. Now, sometimes if you know it's like, okay, I'm just not making enough to meet my needs, then you may need to look at something like Fiverr or Upwork, especially if you don't want to leave your house. But if it is a way that you can monitor your spending and look, most families have one or two categories that they tend to go over in. Ours is food.
Mhm.
If we go over, I know it is because we are eating out too much.
Mhm.
We love restaurants, we love to go out to eat, and that's not a bad thing, but we just have to monitor it. I just
Yeah.
can't, we have to make sure it's not excessive. And
Mhm.
most families have one to two categories that they can probably limit, and it will help their budget.
Mhm. Yeah, what are some budget busters for those of you that's in the audience tonight? I want you to put some budget busters in it. I think ours is food as well,
Mhm.
because you could go out and before you know it, it's the I deserve or I don't feel like cooking. Yeah, a lot of people are saying
I think
food.
food is like number one.
Yeah,
I feel like number one and number two is food and shopping. Amazon. There we go. I was
yeah.
waiting for somebody to say
Oh,
that
somebody said
Amazon
Amazon.
one.
Oh yes, that's my wife. Oh my God.
Sis,
Amazon.
same.
Yes. The Amazon lady know us by name. Like, hey, Mr. Hebert, here you go. This for your wife. Yep,
Yes.
there's another one said.
Travel is another one. There are many like ones, but most of the times we know our triggers. We
Mhm.
know the thing that will trigger us and cause us to overspend. And so usually you don't have to monitor all the categories and track every single one. Track the one that you know.
Yeah.
That's your vice. So for me, I am normally tracking food. If I don't look at anything else, I'm gonna look at how much I'm spending on food. Ooh, sneakers.
Yeah, sneakers. Yeah, yeah, that's a man's thing right there.
Yeah.
We will buy some sneakers. All the ladies got Amazon and
Matt, I
Target.
get stuff delivered to my cousin house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, if you gotta get it delivered to your cousin house, we need
Yeah,
filling and
that's a
deliverance
thing.
right now. Wow. Yes, indeed. Yes,
But
indeed.
yeah, we know our triggers, right?
Mhm,
And so once you figure out that trigger, then that's the and do not delete the category. I
mhm,
will, and I know that the tendency is I am going to stop in this category altogether, but you don't want to do that. And let me tell you why. It is just like crash dieting.
mhm,
And if you've ever done a crash diet, is when you stop doing something altogether, but after a while, you end up binging because you miss it and you love that particular thing. So, what we're trying not to do is we're trying to limit it, but not delete the category altogether. So, I never say we're never eating out. I'm not going to eat out for an entire month. I don't usually say that just because my family and I enjoy it so much. And that's how you kind of get into that. I deserve to eat out. I
mhm,
deserve nice things. But
mhm,
if you normally spend $100 eating out, try 75.
mhm.
Just bring it down a little bit and put that $25 into your savings. And then
Right.
once you can kind of get that on the handle, then maybe you could bring it down a little bit more, unless
Mhm,
you are good with that number. But we are just trying to condition ourselves and change our habits. We're not trying to overhaul our spending altogether.
mhm. Right, right. Do you guys do, like, meal prep or anything like that to kinda help with budgeting?
So we will plan out our meals at the beginning of every single week.
Mhm,
So our main thing, and I don't know if this is half of the people who are in the comments, y'all let me know. Ours is usually someone not cooking because we're both busy. Right. And
mhm.
so if
Yep.
I'm running around with the kids and my husband is running around and he's doing stuff, then by the end of the night, no one wants to cook. Everyone's like, yep, let's just order something. And then we kind of go from there. But
Mhm,
what we'll do is now we kind of look at the entire week. And usually I'll say, okay, Monday, what do we have? Well, I have a lighter day, so I can cook that day. My husband might say, oh, I got Wednesday. But if Tuesday, both of us have really, really late nights, then we'll say, okay, that's our one night of eating out.
mhm.
And we'll plan it ahead of time. So planning it, meal prepping, thinking about what you're going to eat and putting it in the fridge and having leftovers is some of the best things that you can do. Planning out your food is probably going to save you one of the, especially if food is your vice, it's going to save you so much money.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you were talking before about creating multiple streams of income to kind of help even in this time of uncertainty. Let's talk about those who are entrepreneurial and how I always like to talk about how your business can become legit because a lot of times in our community, our businesses start out and they're not legit. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that is not we're not registered with the Secretary of State, we're not paying taxes. It's not legitimate in that sense. And no knock on for the people who have to do what they have to do to start up. But what are some things that we can do to go legal with our business so that we can continue to expand and to receive that income without the threat of you know, some type of penalty.
Yeah. So, and I saw this a lot in 2020. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was doing something called the organized business. And the organized business is where I help entrepreneurs organize their business and make sure that they have everything in place. The thing was though, is I was trying to tell people about all of the SBA loans and the PPP loans and all of the money that was available for entrepreneurs. But because they were not registered, And
Mm,
because they didn't have an official LLC, because they didn't have a separate bank account, because they didn't have an EIN number with the federal government, and they didn't file taxes, they were not able to access that money. They were
mhm,
not able to get the grants. We were not able, and that usually happens a lot with our businesses. And what is happening is we don't know a lot of times the legal ways
mhm,
to, kind of set up our business to where we don't owe the IRS. So what we'll do is just not report all of the income that we possibly have made for the year, or we won't file it with the state. And it ends up hurting us in the long run because we aren't able to elevate our business and get those contracts and be able to sign those deals.
mhm,
And so, one of the best things that you can do is do it the right way.
mhm,
File with the state, file with the federal government, do your taxes, get an
mhm,
EIN number, and then that way, once you have all of that set up, you can go the legal way of trying to make sure that you don't owe a lot in taxes. I talked about, and I wrote this article for See That Money in 2022, I believe it was. But that was my first year where I made a significant amount of money. Like I hit six figures. And when I hit six figures, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I can't believe I hit this amount of money. And then taxes hit, and I was not prepared at all. And the one thing that I did wrong, and I'm going to share everything that I did wrong, but the first thing that I did incorrectly is that even though I had all of my paperwork set up, I was not looking at my finances on a monthly basis. I needed to look at my finances on a monthly basis and file my taxes quarterly instead of at the end of the year. And if I would have done that, then I would have seen how much money I was making and prepared accurately for the end of the year for tax season and not had a really big bill. I
mhm,
ended up owing like $10,000 at the end of the year. And it's
mhm,
because I did not file quarterly, which
mhm,
means I had all of that money just hit all at the same time. And I had not had my retirement accounts for entrepreneurs set up properly. So
mhm,
we can do a SEP IRA, which is self-employed IRA, just for people who are entrepreneurs. And when you do that, you can put that money that you could possibly owe to the IRS, you put it into your retirement account instead, and it's dollar for dollar. So
mhm,
it can take away that bill very, very quickly. And
mhm,
so now I know it, but now I started to teach other people that that's the way to go. Make sure you set this up. Make sure that you're looking at your accounts. Make sure that you're doing this quarterly. Make
mhm,
sure that you're kind of monitoring how much are you making? How much are you spending? Are you actually turning a profit? All of this is like great ways to like set up your business so that you don't get caught off guard at the end
mhm.
of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's shift gears again before we take some questions. And I want all of my entrepreneurs, if you have a business or a hustle that
Yeah.
you're trying to turn into a business, I want you to give me a thumbs up in the comments. I want to see those of you who are doing something um, in addition to maybe your standard 9 to 5, because I know I have some serial entrepreneurs on tonight. You're selling T-shirts, you're selling cookies, you're selling everything, and I want to see those of you that's in the comments, because I believe this year, God wants to do something in your business. God
Mhm.
wants to expand your business. We led off by talking about how Elena took something that was just natural to her and began to work it, and God has made her a national speaker now and doing some amazing things in the world of finance. Good, excellent, excellent, excellent. I see all of you with business, and for some of you, you've allowed your business to go dormant. And I hope that
Mhm.
this conversation is, stirring you to say, "Hey, let me go back and focus on, my business and this dream that God has given me." I tell people all the time, man, there's too many ways to make money for us to be broke.
So many.
I'm gonna say that one more time. I don't want to be insensitive to anybody's situation, but there's too many ways to make money to be broke. Okay, and you just talked about Fiverr.
Yeah.
There's Lyft.
There's
There's Uber.
Upwork,
Yeah.
there's Uber, there's Uber Eats,
Yes.
there's so many ways. And I know many times people will say, "Oh, I don't know." I'm telling you, it's in scripture. Ecclesiastes 11 and 2, one of my favorite. It's invest in seven ventures, yes, in eight. You do not know what disaster may come upon the
Yes.
land. We
Yes.
need to be prepared. We
Yes.
need to look and use every single gift that God
Yes.
has given us.
Cast your
And
bread on
there
more.
is there's
Yes.
no gift that God hasn't given you that He wants you to monetize it. He wants you
Hmm.
to use it to build your resources, because that is the best way that we can give back to the community, ours,
Absolutely.
and help other people who
Hmm.
aren't able to use their gifts, who may not have the ability, but we do. And so there are so many ways that you can multiply the gifts that God has given you and bless other people. Do it.
Yes. 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 And I want somebody right now to get back, get your vision down, pray around that, what God would have you to do this year with your money, and allow that to be your thing this year. Now let's talk about saving. Because a lot of times, we get into the day to day, and saving and wealth building can be something that I believe saving is a skill and a discipline. And I believe for many people, this is where that emotional challenge comes in when it comes to saving. I want you to talk and how you recommend that folks get on a savings plan, even if you don't, make a whole lot of money. You're not making six figures. Wherever you are, you can save. How can we do that?
Yes. And just that, wherever you are. So the first thing you need to do is assess where you are. Look at your budget, review it, think about look at the transactions, look and see those categories. Where could you possibly cut back? And just, you don't have to deplete the category altogether. So just like we were saying, if you have your spending is normally $100 in food, drop it and make it $75. If your spending is normally $100 for shopping, drop it a little bit more and make it $75. And now you can put the $25 from food and $25 from shopping and put an extra $50 in your savings. Here is the thing about saving. Here is the thing about saving. Do not try and do too much of it too soon, too fast. What normally happens with a majority of my clients is that they will try and save too much out of one check. So they're trying to save $300 out of one check or $200 out of one check. And then when it gets toward the end of that paycheck and they're about to get paid again, they run out of money. And so now they end up transferring the money that they put aside for savings back into their spending so that they can have money to survive and to live and to eat and to get gas and all of the things. What I recommend that you do is start with a small amount. Start with an amount that you almost feel like, oh, this doesn't feel like it's going to build up fast enough. Because what ends up happening is that when you move $25 into a savings account, it feels just like you would if you had spent it on eating out or getting something quick or buying coffee, and you don't feel the need to hurry up and move it back. And it builds much, much, much faster than if you were to try and save a big chunk of money and you end up moving it back. So what I like to do is save a little bit and let it build. Save $25, $50 every single time you get paid. Let it build and then watch how quickly it grows. And then you get momentum. And
Mhm.
once you get momentum,
Come
then
on.
it just starts to spiral from there. And then you'll have $1,000 so quickly. You'll have
Mhm.
$5,000 really, really quickly. And then once you start to see those numbers, you start to get excited. And then that really motivates you to keep going.
Hmm. Outstanding, outstanding. I pray that everybody, this year you can learn to pay you. Okay, you can learn to pay you. Let's talk about emergency fund, because while we're
Yeah.
talking about savings, there's various ways for us to save. That scripture that you just quoted in Ecclesiastes talk about we don't know what evil will come on the land.
Yeah.
Right? God has not given us immunity against hardship, against things that will happen. Um, how should we approach an emergency fund? What should that look like for those of us who are attempting to save?
So your emergency fund depends on your current expenses. On average, I usually try and tell people to save 10 to 20% of their income. If you can't start there, that's okay. We're going to start with where we are, with what we
Mhm.
have, and start to build up. But your emergency fund needs to at least be 3 months of your savings. If you're an entrepreneur, bump it up. It needs to be at least 6 to 9 months, just because entrepreneurship is way more, it's way crazy, it's very volatile. So we
Yeah.
want to be prepared. But once you have a fully funded emergency fund, meaning that if you lost your job, if you had no way to make money, you could pay your bills for 3 months or 6 months completely, then that's when we start to look at, paying down debt and getting in even better and saving for other things and, building up our investment accounts. We want to just kind of pace what our priorities are, as far as, are you the type of person that likes to have a certain amount that you are able to spend throughout the year? You want to think about your current living expenses, how you like to spend money, and also what you might need if disaster comes upon the land, if there is
Mm.
evil upon the land. And also consistently thinking about different ways that you can use the gifts that God has given you. I see a nice number of you in the comments that are talking about, like, just there's so many ways to make money. And sometimes that can also cause us to get in our head because there's so many options. But I
Mhm.
really want you to focus in on how God has gifted you. What do people normally compliment you on? Ever
Mhm.
since I was a little girl, I remember high school friends being like, "Oh my goodness, your stuff is so organized. Your notebook is so organized. Your backpack is so, teach me, organize my locker," right? From
Mhm.
when I was a little girl. And it shows me that God already had this plan in place. There is something that everybody compliments you on. There
Mhm.
is something that every single time you do it, somebody is like, "Oh my goodness, you give amazing advice." And everyone comes to you to hear your advice or to ask you questions. And you could be an amazing life coach, or you always are organizing different things in people's houses. And that's something that God has called you to do. And usually, what it feels like is, I do this for fun and nobody's going to pay me for this. And I promise you, it is the exact thing that most people will pay you for, because it's a gift to you. But to other people, it is the biggest help. It is a godsend to
Mhm.
someone else, something that you are like, this is easy and it's a no brainer for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. We like to say in the church world all the time that what you're anointed to do comes easy to you. Um,
Yes.
and that's not just for church. I believe what God has uniquely anointed and gifted people to do, it comes easy, and for that we take it for granted. We say,
Hmm.
"Oh, this is just something I do," and it comes so natural. So we're almost out of time. Geez, the time has just gone by. I want you guys to put in the comments any questions that you may have. We want to jump into some questions right before we get out. Now, as we're talking about uh, preparing for retirement, that's going to be the last place that I go. We'll go back to that statement. You want your money to outlive you. Okay, so we have to prepare. The worst thing in the world is to be, needing to retire but can't retire
Hmm.
because you did not take an opportunity while you were in the sunrise of your life to prepare for the sunset of your life. So, how can we begin to have a focus on retirement?
So the first thing is that just as much as you think about savings and you think about your paying down debt, you also add in your retirement. And your retirement is based on a couple of things. It could be based on how much money you need at the end of when you are ready to retire, right? So I have looked at, when I was looking at building my overall retirement, I looked at how much money we currently have, what are the type of bills we believe that we may have at the like when we are closer and ready to retire? Do I plan on moving again? Do I plan on doing travel in retirement? All of these things matter because that really will help us to see how much money do you actually need. And then start to plan for those things. Start to set aside money for who you are right now. So I am thinking about Elena in the present and also Elena in the future. So
Mhm.
Elena in the present is setting aside money for her kids, like just for their day-to-day expenses and their clothing. But Elena in the future needs to prepare for college. I have we've been preparing for college for like the past 5 or 6 years because, like I said, my oldest will be 13 tomorrow. College is not far for us, right? And
Mhm.
so thinking about who you are now, how much you need, but also thinking about how can I put a little bit aside for what's coming up. And compound interest is amazing. And so you want to take advantage of that as much as you can. So even if you have $50, okay, take that 50 and put it in a Roth IRA. If you
Mhm.
have $100 that's going extra in your business, put it in a SEP IRA. You want to think about and strategize of the different things that you may need as you get older and start to put that money aside now. Just like I put aside a little bit of money for savings, I do the same thing for my investment accounts every single time I get paid.
Mm, mm. Let's jump to a few questions.
Yes.
Um, Nita says, "Do you think 1K in an EF is a good start or not enough?"
So it is a start, but let me tell you, the average cost, like the average expense right now, and this depends on your house. So I am a family of four. It's me, my husband, and two kids. I can tell you right now, the average emergency in our house can be like $2,000, right? And it's because the house, I know I can remember back. Our kitchen flooded once, and that was about $2,000 to get all of that repaired. We had our refrigerator go out, and that cost me like $1,500. So my question to you would be, what's the average emergency? Something happened with the car, something went flat, and how much did that cost you?
Mhm.
That will give you a good indication of how much you might possibly need. And when we're talking about an emergency fund, we are talking about if you lost your job today or tomorrow, could you afford your life for 3 to 6 months? And usually $1,000 is not going to be enough. What
Mhm.
I would recommend that you do is add up all of your bills and then times that by 3 or 6, and that's your emergency fund number.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when I was first starting out, man, it was like, okay, when if you lost this job today, and this was my aha moment when I was about 23, 24 years old. If you lost this job today, especially when I got married, I started thinking like this: how long could you go before they come and get the car? Before the furniture got to go back. And it helped me to focus on, first of all, living without credit cards, which was something that we had to get to the point to do. It also made me focus on, saving to make purchases versus making the
Mhm.
emotional purchases that you're talking about. So that's so very, very important. And that emergency fund. And the other thing I look at as well is that if crunch time comes, what can I cut? Like, what
Yes.
can I do without? Can I wash my own car? Can I cut my own grass? Can I, clean my own house? Can I, do without this or do without that? So those are the type of things that I like to identify. Those things that we can say, hey, we could do without this because this is not a necessity.
Yes.
Let's go to another one real quick. Can you elaborate on the self-employed IRA?
Yes, so it's called a SEP IRA, and it is specifically for those of us who are self-employed because we don't have the traditional 401k, right? But it's a retirement plan that you put money aside in. Now, the funds are taxed when they come out, which means that when you put money into this account, you are getting a tax deduction, which is why we love it when we are trying to do it for our self employed people who are, you get that big number at the end of the year, this is a great place. If I owe the IRS $10,000, then let me put it in the SEP IRA instead. Then that way I don't have to pay it to the IRS. And so this is a great way for you to build up that savings account. It works the same way. You can use that money, put it in index funds. That is what mine is in. I am a risk adverse investor, which means that I'm just letting the companies, I'm putting it all in index funds and just letting it build up on its own. I just check the accounts month over month, and I'm making sure that something goes in there every single month. And the great thing about it that I absolutely love is that at the end of the year, so right now, I could invest right today for last year. So the very beginning of the year is when I will kind of do my estimated taxes. So from January, like around January 10th, I looked at all of 2024. And if I did a calculation and I estimated my taxes and I see, ooh, it looks like I'm still gonna owe the IRS $3,000, what I can do is still put it right now, today in January, into the SEP IRA, and it still qualifies for last year, which means that I still get the tax deduction, even though I put the money in the month of January. So it is a great thing for entrepreneurs because many times our income fluctuates. Sometimes you make a lot of money, sometimes you make a little money, and you don't know what that number is going to be a lot of times until after the fact. And so this is a great way for you to kind of have that money set aside there and not have to give it to the IRS, and you have it for your retirement. Once you are retirement age, you can pull out the money just like you would a 401k.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, there's been a lot. I want you to tell everybody how they can get connected to you. I have referred folks to Alaina to help get their money organized for coaching and therapy, financial therapy, and all of that. How can they get in touch with you to get more of your services?
Yeah, so I am all over social media. I am on YouTube. My channel is called The Organized Money. I am on Instagram. I am always in my DMs. So if you decide to DM me there, and you can also email me, it's Alaina at theorganizedmoney.com. I'll put it in the chat in case anybody wants to reach out. But I love to help people on their journey. And if you are trying to set up a budget, if you are struggling with your spending, if you feel like there is an emotional side of or a trigger that you're trying to work through, if it could be your childhood and you didn't learn money management and now you're trying to figure out how to kind of get things in place, that is what I do. It is what I believe God has put me on the earth to do. And I love to help people get to the place of hope, even if it's with your income. And I saw a couple of people who were saying, I don't know how to make more money. I help people with that as well, because I believe that is just as important as managing it, especially in this economy. Because sometimes we look at the numbers and it's like, yeah, there is no more wiggle room. We need to make more money. And so there are different things that we can do with the emotional, the organization, the management of it, the saving and paying down debt. And I would love to help you on your journey. So that is my email. I'm also all over social media. So if you want to watch any of my videos, I post about budgeting, saving, investing. I post about it all on my YouTube channel all the time.
Yes, yes. The final question that I have, what's your recommendation even for Christians who's hearing teachings about tithing and about getting God involved in your money, as we are organizing and as we are preparing and all of this kind of stuff, what role or what spiritual guidance do you give there?
So there is so many scriptures on money. God talks about money so often. And I think it's because he knew that it would be a resource and such a big part of our life. And so, like I talked about Ecclesiastes a little bit earlier, 11 and 2, but even there are a couple of scriptures in Ecclesiastes. There are principles, and I'm going to post a video on this. I believe it's going to be this upcoming week or next week, on 7 principles, 7 financial principles that can be found in scripture. And even when we talk about, the love of money and how the principles that you need to follow, like emergency fund. The emergency fund can be found in the Bible. Planning and organizing money can be found in the Bible. There is everything that I am talking about when we talk about investing and saving and paying down debt. And we quote them all the time, being the lender, not the borrower. There are so many scriptures that backs all of these financial principles up. And I think that once we start to know them, get them in our heart, it becomes a little bit easier to live by them, because all we're doing is following God's word. And God told us that he has guided us on how to do every single thing in our life. And I believe we looked at the money side as a little bit faux pas, especially when, in church, it can become very tense around offering time. But I think that is because in our head, we still have this faux pas feeling around money that it's not the same. But you can use your money to glorify God. You can use your giving to glorify God. You can use how you manage your money and how you access your resources and how you help other people, just as you use your time, just as you use your talent. It all glorifies God. You just have to find your foundational scriptures, the ones that you can live your life by, and make sure that you're consistently doing it over and over and glorifying God in every single thing that you do, including how you spend, save, and pay down all of your debt. Anything that you do with your money can be found in scripture.
Outstanding. Listen, thank you again. Come on, y'all. Put a clap hand emoji in the comments for Alaina. What a treasure. What a gift. What a jewel. And we're claiming part of you. You're ours as well. Okay. So as you go up, we're so grateful and thankful to God for all the things that he's doing in your life as well. So y'all go to her website, go to her YouTube page. It's a mountain of resources that I believe can help you in business, can help you even in your personal life as well. Thank you so much, Alaina. We love you so much, you and Tori. Our prayers are with the Empowerment Church and everything that God has your hand upon. God bless you. Good night, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us.
Good night.
You are going to walk into a place of plenty where you have more than enough to share and more than enough to spare, because now I'm not falling in my own strength. Now I'm walking in the wealthy place that Jesus has positionally placed me in.